So you're probably wondering, what is it really like to live as a K-pop idol? As a kid, I did too. So I flew to Korea, became one, and now I am here to spill all the tea. So buckle up, cause I'm back to yap again. In my last video, I briefly explained how life was as a K-pop trainee. You don't have to watch it, but it's there, waiting for you to watch it. Go watch it. So I was placed in the debut lineup, and back then our company's wallet was kinda thick. They even wanted to send us to train in the States for a couple of months, as K-pop had always taken inspiration from American culture. But then COVID happened, you know, the pandemic that halted the world for 3 years and is now an excuse for why your mental age doesn't match your actual one. Plans got cancelled, our debut got delayed. On top of that, I had to fly back to Thailand a couple of times for visa issues. Quarantine was mandatory in both countries, so I ended up missing nearly 3 months of practice. I remember the first time I listened to our debut album in my hotel room, and they told me to record myself practicing the whole song. So there I was, jamming away at 3 a.m, and the front desk had to call me and tell me to shut up. Typically, preparing for a K-pop album can take 2 to 6 months, but here, we always did everything within a month-ish. I don't know why. We usually record our songs and learn choreo just a week or two before the MV shoot. The music video and jacket photos would take 2 to 3 days, and a couple of weeks later, boom, everything would be released. A couple of months before, we were told our group name, Ghost 9, aka Ghost 9. Our concept director was into spooky things and Ghostbusters. Everyone definitely loved that name. Our group concept was set to be dark EDM music, and it was also paired up with a lore that is now dead. Very on brand. One unique thing about K-pop is that groups often have lores to spice things up. Even if you're one of our fans, a ghostie, that's our fandom name, cute, right? Yeah, I know. Anyways, even if you're a ghostie, chances are you probably don't know our lore, because we never really marketed it that well. So let me briefly explain our concept lore. TLDR, Glees. So each one of our members has a spirit soulmate called the Glees. Mine was this cute little emoji thing. These spirit creatures supposedly live within the Earth's crust, and our lore basically revolves around them coming up to meet us, and we all embark on a magical journey. I actually liked our concept, but it has now long been ghosted. September 23rd, 2020, we debuted with our first mini album, pre-episode 1 Door, with our title track, Think of Dawn. Since we couldn't perform with a live audience because of COVID, our company took this as an opportunity and debuted us on top of a skyscraper. I think our company was pretty loaded. Where did all the money go? Very suspicious, very suspicious. Performing during COVID was definitely something else. Imagine being a performer with no audience to perform for. COVID brought huge changes to K-pop culture, one being online performances. Now things might look good on screen, but behind the scenes, we're in an empty room doing aegyo to the camera, and then we lock eyes with the cameraman, who really does look like he needs some coffee. A lot of times it was pretty awkward. Fan signs disappeared for a while, and that was the birth of fan calls. I love fan calls. It's a chance to meet not just the Korean fans, but also overseas ones that wouldn't have made it in person. We'd sit in a row, staff would hand us one phone at a time as we interacted with the fans. Now fan calls aren't cheap, so when someone asks me to do aegyo, I personally don't mind. Also because I look so cute. One question I get asked a lot is, what's the worst fan encounter you've ever had? And as a highly media trained person, I'm gonna say, I had none. But we all know that is a lie. In the rare cases where we feel uncomfortable, there are protocols. We're told to never be the bad guy, signal for help while treating everyone with respect. But thankfully, we haven't had many bad encounters. Talking about rules and protocols, let's talk about the rules we had as K-pop idols. And it's a lot more chill than you would imagine. Being in a boy group, we had it much easier than the girls. Our diet wasn't heavily restricted, and if we kept in shape, our meals were pretty much fair game. Phones, technically banned, but after 2 years of sneaking in secret phones, we stopped hiding them. Turns out our staff knew all along, and every time they confiscated one, we just buy another. So eventually, they just gave up. Dating, drinking, smoking was discouraged, but never officially banned. They heavily stressed that whatever you do in your private life isn't their business, but don't ever get caught. Although, we weren't allowed to leave our dorms, and there were practically no rest days, so there were no opportunities for us to actually cause trouble. The rules were definitely a lot more strict when we were rookies, but we're reaching our 5th anniversary this month, and I guess we built more trust as we go. And they started caring less. I think they gave up on us. Now let's talk about makeup and cosmetic procedures. They won't allow me to talk about mine, so I'm keeping everything very vague. In K-pop, lookism is real. K-pop is brutally competitive, and while I don't think you need to be conventionally attractive to be a K-pop idol, it definitely helps. Plastic surgery has become a common practice. In our company, staff would sometimes suggest getting work done, but it was never forceful and always just a suggestion. We went to the dermatologist once a week to get our skin treated, and they also hooked us up with personal trainers every other day to keep us in shape. But that was all when we had money. And they had hope. Yay! Every day before schedules, we'd spend 2.5 hours at the beauty salon getting our hair and makeup done. I'd imagine it's a lot longer for female idols. The salons were usually the place where we take naps. A lot of times, we would go in looking like zombies and we get knocked out unconscious, and when we wake up, we became pretty. With every song release, K-pop idols promote their songs through music shows. Music shows are basically programs hosted by leading broadcast stations which last around an hour and a half every day of the week. It is an important aspect in making K-pop not only music for the ears but for the eyes as well. Whenever a group releases new music, we would promote our tracks on these shows for a week to a month. Getting on these shows is all about business relations. Some companies prefer working with only a few exclusive shows, while others try to work with all to increase exposure. Saying this, if your company has weak relations and your team is relatively unknown, it is more difficult to secure a spot on these shows. Companies would constantly try to appeal to these show producers to get their artists in better time slots. Rookies usually start the shows while popular groups and veterans take the ending spots. Let me tell you about the rehearsal process. This is a lot of technical stuff, so try to keep up. You first do the dry rehearsals where you mark your performance and test out the floors and microphone settings. Then you wait a bit and move on to camera rehearsals, in which the staff would roll all the cameras while you mark where you have to look at what times. Camera setups are a bit different during each show, but it's usually like this. 3 cameras up front, 2 jimichip, a closed floor camera, sometimes a stage cameraman, a full cam, and several fan cams. When we used to promote a lot, each member had their own designated fan cam, but I've heard it's all done by AI now. Now, spotting camera is a real skill you have to learn. When a camera turns red, it means that one is broadcasting. So it's like a mini game on stage where you try to spot each camera as soon as possible. If your team misses a lot of the camera cues, they would actually have to do the rehearsals again and again until you perfect it, and the schedule will be delayed and it'll be all your fault. So the question we're all wondering, how much do artists get paid on these shows? I don't think it's a lot. The purpose of these shows is never really about the money, but the exposure it gives, so I guess a lot of us would do it for free. As you all may know, Korea's culture revolves heavily around respect, and this reflects immensely in professional settings. All K-pop idols were expected to greet everyone we pass by, regardless of who they are. We would all be taught to say the same thing. We would say hello and introduce which team we're in. For us, we would say 안녕하세요, 고스나입니다. As rookies, our company educated us to greet everyone with enthusiasm, bowing 90 degrees and talking in sol, do, re, mi, fa, sol. We don't want to give the wrong impression, so we were told to speak in a higher tone to sound more humble. sol, 안녕하세요, 땡땡땡입니다. 안녕하세요, 땡땡땡입니다. 안녕하세요, 땡땡땡입니다. You would expect life after debut to be more glamorous, but it was honestly pretty much the same. As rookies, our training never stopped. We would go do our schedules from morning till night, and when we finished, we went straight to our practice room, watched our performance that day, and went back to practicing the same song over and over. Same as when we were trainees, they let us go home at 1 a.m. But the difference is that we needed to wake up 4 hours later for hair and makeup. So yeah, we were always dead tired. Coming from a smaller company, chances of success weren't that high, so it's pretty understandable why they made us practice that hard. A lot of the time, we would prepare for our next comeback at night, so preserving one's condition physically and mentally is probably one of the most important aspects of the job. Now, a lot of you guys might have seen me around, but have no clue where I belong, so let me explain more about my group. TLDR, Ghost 9. Our group has a total of 7 mini albums and a few more singles. Each of our mini albums contains 6 songs, so we have like a whole bunch of songs. The first 6 months in the business, we came out with 4 mini albums as a 9-member group. That's 4 comebacks in a half a year, which if you don't know, is pretty a lot. Then 2 of our members left due to personal reasons, and over the years, we slowly released 3 more mini albums and a couple more singles. Now we're hitting 5 years and things are great, yeah. Anyways, you might be wondering what our music sounds like, and lucky for you, we've dabbled in all sorts of genres, so there's bound to be something that clicks. Here's my recommendations.
I just wanted to say thanks.
Amidst the chaotic schedules and the uncertainty of what comes next, one thing I genuinely love about being an idol is how much it pushes you to work on yourself. Since we all started so young and impressionable, I'm grateful for the experiences that molded me into someone more resilient, introspective, disciplined, stressed. And that's probably my biggest takeaway from K-pop. There's still a bunch of anecdotes that I really want to say, but I don't think I'm allowed to say. So stick around, and someday, maybe I might be able to tell you those stories. Well, thank you for watching. Keep in mind that this is only my personal experience. Every group is gonna go through different stuff. Anyways, feel free to ask more questions about I don't know, anything you want to know, and maybe I'll come back in another video and answer those questions. Well, yeah, thank you.